in the next 5 to 10 years, the actual title of data analyst might be reduced, but the job that requires you to understand how to analyze the data and use the Gen AI as a supporting tool will be increasing.
Yeah. A lot of freshers who wants to break into this, they tailor their resume to the job description, and many of them, they use the philosophy of fake it till you make it. They will just add projects which they haven't even really worked on. What are your views on that?
You might not like the position when you actually join the company if you fake your resume too much. Treat an interview as a discussion. The interviewer out there is to help you, not to reject you. They actually ask the question that they want to hear more about you. Feel free to chat with them. Feel free to interact with them. Make it a two-way interview where you can actually interact, hear from their insight, share your insights. And that's actually what I did during all of my interviews.
Let's move on to the second part. In the second part, Oliver, we have with us Tracy.
Yep.
She's from Macquarie University doing her master's in business analytics. So she will be joining this part of the conversation to ask questions about career advice and how to break into this data analytics or data analysis industry. So before that, we will just deep dive more into the technical part of data analysis. So could you please tell us, what is the difference between a data analyst, data engineer, and data scientist, and how do they sit at different hierarchy in the data space?
Okay. I think it's again another big question. And before I say that, I think we might need to acknowledge that different company, they might have different actual task for different job titles. So it might not be the same for all the companies in the industry. But high level wise, we can say data engineer, it's actually work as a baseline of the data hierarchy. So they help us to collect the data, build the data pipeline to get the data into the system. They have us store the data and make the data ready for the analyst or the scientist to use later on. We usually call data engineer as a software engineer in the data field. So it means that you might need to have a lot of software engineering skills. So you might need to have more coding skills in comparison to data analyst and data scientist. Next, we have data analyst. I would say that they sit in the middle of the hierarchy. So what they do is they might also collect the data, and they might clean it, they might process it, and they also analyze the data to bring out the insights for the stakeholders. They can build some dashboards, they can make visualizations, write reports, make presentations, and they can jointly support the business leaders and stakeholders to make informed decisions. Data scientists might be a little bit up there when they use data to build predictive models, or they can model the patterns from the data. So what they do is they can use statistics, machine learning, or deep learning to model the data, or they can build some forecast for the company. But again, I think it really depends on the companies and the projects. So they might do different things, but high level wise, that's what we can think about.
So data scientist is someone who does more of the modeling and statistical analysis, while the data engineer is more who does the data pipeline and creating those links. And data analytics kind of sits at the lower hierarchy, doing all the visualizations and massaging the data and everything. So since it looks like data analyst is kind of the low-hanging fruit of the data space, do you think with the improvements in AI, like the entry-level jobs as a data analyst will go down in the future? And what do you think about the trend of the data jobs in the market in the next 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, well, personally, I do believe that Gen AI and all the Gen AI tools out there are actually helping us as a data analyst. So I don't consider it as a competitor. that would take away our job, but I consider it as a helpful tool that makes our life and our work so much easier and faster. So I know that a lot of company out there right now, their strategy is to adapt AI into their corporations, into their business. And for example, my company, Quantium, one of the big data analytics firms in the country, we try to encourage everyone to use Gen AI in our day-to-day work. And they support that for every single data analyst to make sure that we can actually use that to speed up the work. So I feel like in the next 5 to 10 years, the actual title of data analyst might be reduced, but the job that requires you to understand how to analyze the data and use the Gen AI as a supporting tool will be increasing.
Yeah. And also, I've seen a lot of online tutors, they have built up the environment around SQL and BI as the important tool to go into the data space. So do you believe like it's the only important thing, or is it just a hype to get into the data?
Well, I don't think that is everything that you need to learn, but I think it's a good starting point. So whenever you want to think about joining the data field as a data analyst or data engineer or something, you might need to understand how to work with data. And SQL or like Tableau or Power BI, I think are very friendly, like beginner-friendly tools for you to kind of start learning. So if you kind of consider, okay, whether I should join data analytics fields, you can give it a go. Because, you can't just listen to anyone to say that, okay, it's a good position for you. But I feel like you might need to try it yourself. You need to learn it to see whether you like it, whether you can do it. And I do believe that we have a lot of resources out there right now, not just online learning from different tutors, from different unis. But I think the most important thing is you might need to put yourself out there. You need to make time for it. You need to actually learn to see whether it's for you.
Moving on, like consider myself as a novice in the data space, and I don't know much about the data pipelining, data statistical modeling, data visualization. So how should someone like me should start to learn about these things? Like first about data visualization, then building up data pipelines, and then the statistical model, which the data scientists do. How should I begin?
Well, I think it really depends on how serious you are. If you feels like, okay, I really want to make myself into the data field, I feel like the best way to do it is to get formal education. So enroll yourself in the graduate certificate or something like that, so you can get an understanding in a more structured way about data science. And I don't think anyone can say no to formal education if they have time and if they have like the money. However, if you just not too sure whether you like it or whether you are serious about that, I think you can take some online courses to get an introductions about data science. We have a lot of good courses out there on Coursera or Udemy. So you can try to take like the Google certificate in data analytics. So they kind of introduce you to different visualization tool, how to analyze the data, and the useful technologies that the industry is using out there. So you can get your head around for the fields first and see how it goes. But I think it's really depends on yourself, on how much time you have, whether you are serious, whether you are working full time, or you can just do it in the evening, or you can spend your whole day working on your data learning. So it's really depends. Yeah.
So as a data analyst, like I think the basics of the softwares that you should know would be Power BI and Tableau and part of SQL and Excel. So as a data engineer, what are the list of softwares that you should know, like as a base to get into that space?
Well, actually, as a data analyst, we kind of need to know a little bit more. So as a data analyst, I think you might need to know how to analyze the data. So in order to analyze the data, you need to have the data ready for you. And sometimes the data is not ready, and you might need to do some cleaning, some data handling, and you might need to use some programming language like Python with the popular libraries out there. You can use Excels as well, and you might need to know how to use SQL. You do need to know how to visualize the data with different visualization tool like Power BIs or Tableau, etc. And you might need to use some cloud platforms out there as well. So yeah, that might be enough for the data analyst. Personally, I haven't been working as a data engineer, so I don't think I can give advice for people. I'll keep myself focused on data analyst.
Yeah. So let's move on to the pricing analyst that your current role is.
Yeah.
So what does a pricing analyst do? And do you have any interesting stories like about the work that you did and it created an impact in your in your project?
Okay, so I've been working as a data analyst at Suncorp before, and the work that I did pretty much is how to price the premium better. So the whole point of pricing analytics is how you can balance between the company profits and the customer benefit. So you don't want to put your price really high so that all the clients will go away and find different competitors to purchase from the competitors' products, but you don't want to put the price very low so that you don't earn any profits from that. So as a pricing analyst, we act as pretty much a data scientist in pricing field. So what I did specifically is how to price the insurance premiums a little bit better in terms of natural perils. So we have like natural perils insurance for clients across the country. And what I did is I kind of collect the data that we have from different perils that happened in the past and try to model that a little bit better. So in specific, I kind of look at different addresses in the countries and the relationship that they have between the distance and the claims that they actually claimed across a time, and incorporate that into the system using different machine learning and statistical approaches. So it might be a little bit too complicated to go deeper into it, but that's pretty much in a high level way on what we do as a pricing analyst. But it's also, again, different between different companies. So it's not the same for all the pricing analysts across the country, I would say.
So as a pricing analyst, what's the one philosophy you would say that's important for every pricing analyst to know, and they should kind of base their work on that?
Well, it's a big question, I think, and it really depends on different field as well. So pricing analysts don't do the same thing when they work in insurance and when they work in like retails or when they work in banking. So it's I think it's a whole big different story. But what you actually need to know, I think, it's to understand your products and the values of the companies and the strategy that the company wants you to do. For example, if you work for a pricing analyst at Woolies, you might need to make Woolies a little bit in a better position compared to Coles or like Aldi. So it really depends on the projects and the companies that you work for, and you might need to understand the products and the field a little bit better, especially if you don't have like the background in that field. For example, a person like me with a data science background, I didn't do any e-commerce or commerce or actuarial studies. So when I joined the company like Suncorp or like Quantium, Woolies, I might need to learn a little bit about what they're doing and how the industry works to make sure that what I'm doing is actually aligned with what the company needs.
Right, that's really interesting. So moving on to the next part, we will be talking more on the career advice and the young professionals how to break into this industry. So we have with us Tracy. So Tracy, could you please give a bit of introduction about yourself?
Yeah, sure. So, I'm currently a student at Macquarie University pursuing Master of Business Analytics, and I have a background for my bachelor, which is Bachelor of Commerce, International Business, and this is my last semester, so I'm about to graduate, and that's the reason why I'm here today to have some questions to Oliver.
Yes. Well, thanks for coming on the show. Yes, so you can go ahead, like if you have any questions, you can start with asking them.
Yeah, sure. So, as I'm about to graduate, so just want to ask a senior like you. So, it was really interesting to know all about your journey when you're moving to Australia and get a job in Brisbane. I just want to ask, what did you do in your junior life to get a role at Quantium or Suncorp?
Okay. Yeah, okay. Thank you so much, Tracy, for joining us, and nice to meet you here today. Well, I'm not a senior, so people, I'm not a senior. So yeah, my journey to Australia or in Australia had started in 2020. So I've been here for nearly 4 years. So I think in order to prepare for the first job, like graduate job, you might need to get yourself ready with the technical side and the soft skill side. So in terms of technical, you might need to make sure that you know the tools that the companies out there are looking for. So if you want to be a data analyst, you might need to prepare yourself with like Python, SQL, visualization tool, etc. If you want to be a data engineer, make sure that you get yourself ready as well. I think that's all about technical things. And in terms of like soft skill, I think that's really important. In order to get a job, you might need to pass several rounds of interviews. So you might need to make sure that you know how to communicate yourself, you know how to explain something in a very easy way for non-technical people to understand. I think that might be very important. And as we are international students, there might be some language barrier out there. So make sure that you get yourself comfy when you speak English, when you present yourself. So yeah, that's a long journey to go, but I wish you all the best with your preparation.
Thank you. And also, because you talked about the soft skills, so is it important for people doing data analysts or business analytics like us to be good at communication or presentation skills or like soft skill or transferable skills?
Yeah, I think that's very, very, very important, because as a data analyst, you don't just find the insights, but you need to present that insight back to the stakeholder so they can make the business decisions. So if you can find a very good insights, it's very insightful, it's amazing, brilliant, but you can't communicate that insight, so it doesn't mean anything. So I feel like it's equally important as your technical skills. So you might need to practice a lot to make sure that you can present your idea so that people can understand you, so people can listen to you. And I think a good data analyst is someone that has a good communication skills, so make sure that you prepare that.
Yeah. And also, beside technical skills and soft skills, so do you think that the students like us need to focus on tailoring our resume, focus on like a niche industry like insurance or consulting or auditing? Because as I can see from your story, is that you have like domain knowledge from Woolies or Pricing Analyst.
Well, before joining all that big companies, I didn't have any experience in that field. So I don't think that it's a prerequisite for anyone to join the company, but I think we need to show that we're ready to learn. However, when you write your resume, I think just focus on your technical skills and the projects that you have done, the work that you have done. So I think that should showcase your capabilities and your skill sets that relevant to what the companies are currently looking for. I think for students who haven't graduated, it's very important to include your education background. So I know that a lot of you guys, you can just cut your education background off, or you put it in the bottom of your resume, which I don't think is good. You might need to just put it on top of your resume, because I think they really care about your education background when you don't have much working experience. So make sure that you put it out there so people know. If your GPA looks good, I feel like it's good to include them there. Or if you have some units or courses that are relevant to the positions, you can include them there as well. So yeah.
And also on that part, like a lot of freshers who wants to break into this, they tailor their resume to the job description, and sometimes, and many of them, they use the philosophy of fake it till you make it. So kind of they will just add projects which they haven't even really worked on. So what are your views on that? Like, should they really do it, or just to get into the industry?
Well, I feel it's like you shouldn't include something that you haven't done. But you should try to make yourself fit to the company. So what I mean by that is, if they ask for a skills that you haven't used before, you should learn. I feel like that's totally fine. Because there's a lot of things that I don't know before I join the company, but I say that I'm willing to learn, and I can learn it during the time that they process my application. So I think that's fine, but don't include something that you haven't done, or you have no idea what that is, and you fake yourself in your resume. I don't say that it's really bad, but you might not like the position when you actually join the company if you fake your resume too much. Because, it's really important that you apply for the position that you fit into that. So the company, they will do interview anyway. So if you fake it during your interview round, they might just, fight it out later on.
Yeah. And you're also a tutor, so you have experience working with a lot of students, answering their questions and understanding the way they think. So what is your tips that you would like to give a young student or young professional who is giving an interview? Like, how should they approach towards a question?
Well, I think treat an interview as a discussion. The interviewer out there is to help you, not to reject you, not try to reject you. So they actually ask the question that they want to hear more about you. So feel free to chat with them. Feel free to interact with them. Don't make it a one-way interview. Make it a two-way interview where you can actually interact, hear from their insights, share your insights. And that's actually what I did during all my interviews. So I always ask them to share what they think after I shared. For example, after you share about your modeling approach, you can say something like, that's what I usually do at uni or my previous jobs, but what is your approach at the current company? So let them share. They're human as well. They want to share their ideas. And I think the whole point of the interview is, it's not just see you prove your technical understanding, but also want to see whether you are a good team player. So show them that you can work with them.
Yeah, and also beside all the skills, so there's one more thing that we mentioned a lot in our lecturers and juniors at uni, which is data storytelling. So do you think, is it important to include in our resume, or consider it as a skill to apply to any companies?
Well, I think data storytelling is a very important skills for everyone in the current world, because data is everywhere, and we need to understand the data and tell the story with the data, not just the data professionals. So I think it's a very important skills, but I also think that it's a bit hard to show that on your resume. So you might need to showcase that during the interview, because it's really hard when you mention yourself that you have those kind of soft skill in your resume, because everyone can say that, but how can you actually prove them? I think it's good to show them during your interview that you can do that. And I think data storytelling is actually a skill that you can learn. So a lot of people that say that they don't know how to work with data. They can't understand the data. They have no idea with numbers. But no, it's actually a skill that we can learn. So we can just read more reports, industry reports out there for like Big Four. You can actually read more newspapers with the data, or like data science tools or mediums to kind of understand or immerse yourself with the way that people try to share their story with data. So I think we just get better and better every day and practice a lot. I think, yeah.
Yeah, and adding on to that, like I also feel like when communicating with your stakeholders about the insights that you have created from the data, like following the approach as in first define the problem statement really well so that the other person understands okay what the problem is, then talk about the challenges, what are the challenges in solving this problem, and then talk about the solution, like how did you actually solve the problem. So it kind of gives an overall perspective towards the problem also to the listener, and it also confirms your way of thinking, so the interviewer might understand how you approach towards the problem. So that could be an added benefit during the interview as well. Thank you so much for joining into today's episode of diaXpora. We give a huge thank you to Oliver for coming onto the podcast and sharing his journey, his experiences and advice with us. If you like this podcast, please share and subscribe and share it with someone who might benefit from it. If you like to be part of our podcast, please click on the link in the description below and fill out the form. And we would love to have you on our podcast, talking with the guest speaker and asking them questions. At diaXpora, we are here to empower international students, young professionals and newcomers coming to Australia, and your support help us grow the community. Thank you.